Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I'm looking at this book that I've been reading, the thyroid book, and it's very interesting. It's of particular interest to me because one of my boys, as a grown adult, had his thyroid removed, and we're just looking at the role of research. And research is a multi-million-dollar industry set up to make money and to keep the medical industry making money. Yet we tend to look at it as some sort of medical maker, and I guess it will be the same in 20 years' time. If you think about how long the cancer TV marathon has been going on, raising countless millions upon millions of dollars to cure cancer, it is really amazing. But one of the things that this man says in this book, which makes, and I should tell you that the book is a book that was written for the Thyroid Health Retreat in Davao in the Philippines, and it was written by a man called John Ruby, who I'm actually in touch with now, and who it's very likely that probably after Christmas we might go and visit the retreat and have a look for ourselves and make some videos there, because I think it's worth it. But anyway, he makes a point that I've been trying to make, certainly made for myself, as purely as my opinion, and that is that the medical industry, certainly the pharmaceuticals, and I probably have some attack leveled at me for that too, that they would rather treat you for something for the rest of your life than cure you in a week. That would, from a business point of view, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Well, anyway, let's have a look at what the thyroid itself does. So here's this little chapter in, well, part of the book, and it's titled The Thyroid Itself. So I read to you from that. The credit for this goes to, as I said, let me read it again, the Thyroid Health Center, and it's by John Ruby. Thank you, John, and thanks for your email, which I received and will answer fairly soon. So, okay, here we are talking about the thyroid, and it would be remiss of me to move on without explaining the ramifications again in just a little more detail. The thyroid gland makes and stores hormones first and foremost, so it is logical that it will affect women in day-to-day. This book is particularly aimed at women, but of course it crosses over the genders. So it affects women in a day-to-day health matter more than any other gland or organ, he's saying, doesn't it? Isn't that logical? It is also a temperature regulator, and for this reason has a receptor at every cell in the body. So here's a gland that functions in a particular way, and it's connected to every single cell in the body. So does it know or have an effect on what's going on? I would think so. Again, of powerful importance in day-to-day health and wellness, right? So it says, yes, it says, has a receptor at every cell in the body where the hormones affect or decide the function of that cell. Again, powerful importance in day-to-day health and wellness. Among the hormones is calcitonin, or calcitonin, I think that's how you spell it, which stimulates bone cells to add calcium. Now that in particular is a thing that I've always thought about women, and how they are prone to lose density of their bones quite early in life, in their 50s in fact, and it's always seemed to me to be something that they should be paying strict attention to, probably through health and fitness in the gym, and that means overcoming the generally held opinion by women. I'm saying generally, and generalizations as a whole don't actually work, but if you look at it, that you will speak to an awful lot of women and talk to them about weightlifting, and they will say that they don't want to be muscly. They want to lose fat, but they don't want to be muscly. So it's a kind of a contradiction, but it's a difficulty that anybody who tries to speak health and fitness and training to women generally might come up against. That will be a challenge that you might come up against. So anyway, other hormones help regulate the heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, the metabolism itself, including the rate of food conversion into energy. Now that's of particular interest, I think. For the child, hormones also help children grow and develop, and let me see, and as you do, they regulate chemical reactions within the body for life. Okay, so that's very important. How important is that? The thyroid gland is located in the lower part of the neck, below the Adam's apple, wrapped around the windpipe. It is in the shape of a butterfly, and the central part is called the isthmus. It basically uses iodine, or iodine, depending on which side of the channel you come of the Atlantic you come from. It basically uses iodine to make the hormones. The two most important thyroid hormones are, forgive my possible incorrect pronunciation, thyroxine, which is called T4, and triiodothyronine, which is called T3. Thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, which is produced by the pituitary gland. Now, I mentioned the pituitary gland a little while ago, which is also very important, acts to stimulate hormone production by the thyroid gland. It can be described as underactive or overactive, normally hypothyroid or underactive. The condition, Hashimoto, is an autoimmune condition where the thyroid is attacked and its function gradually becomes impaired. The thyroid becomes inflamed, indicating a reduction in its capacity to control temperatures around the body. There are many types and complications of thyroid disease known to medical science. So having all of this information ready, you can understand how important the thyroid is, and ask why science tends to relegate it to the also-ran group and remove it if it becomes diseased. That's what happened to my son. It is true, of course, that the body can survive without the thyroid, given that chemical hormone balancing is attempted every day for the rest of your life. Also, try to imagine how a chemical-based system currently responsible for the 4th highest cause of death in the US could ever hope to regulate all those functions listed above and immediate interconnected and interdependent body parts and systems. There are thousands, and if we try to regulate them with a pill, when we cannot find a pill to cure the common cold. And that's a pretty sobering thought, isn't it? That we don't actually have a pill that will cure the common cold. We have lots of pills that will claim to give relief, but the end result always of that is if symptoms do not disappear, do not go away, you need to call a doctor. And then the doctor will prescribe drugs, which you've evidently been trying before you gave up and decided to call a doctor. So it really is easy to see as we begin to understand this. says, meanwhile, we are talking about beautiful people in this book who deserve to have a life with quality. The bottom line is that the thyroid needs to be a positive powerhouse of activity, and unfortunately tends to crumble when overloaded or attacked. As we begin to understand this, you can do many things to help the thyroid in your daily life, and it is not hard to get it back on track naturally. Now, I've come up against this line of reasoning that I offer before, generally about health. If a book or a therapy or whatever the action is, if it promises to really handle the problem, isn't it worth looking at and considering and finding out more about? And that's the category that this book falls into. So I thought that you would be interested in having a look at the thyroid itself and what it does. Now, someone said, yes, well, it operates on iodine and either has too much or too little. I always feel that what science does, when it's paid to do research, this I think is what happens, and I've said this before. I'm amazed that we don't know more about the pill that they give you, which doesn't do anything, and yet people actually claim to have had some result with this pill, the placebo, and yet it's greatly demonstrated that the pharmaceuticals are not interested in finding out how to cure. This is how it seems to me, is that they are more interested in finding something that they can treat on a regular basis and then treat it, and they're in business. Now, I've heard it said before, you know, no, they wouldn't do anything that, no big company, no big reputable company would do anything that would endanger your health, surely. No. How about cigarette companies? How about a lot of companies that will sell you a product that they know will affect your health? We've been talking in other videos about sugar and what a deadly companion it is to cancer. And yet, sugar goes into almost everything. I was astonished to find out that actually sugar goes into something like baked beans. And so our palates have been educated in a way which will have us do the things that the product will give. So, you know, if you really look at the way that food is treated, then you will see that it's not always in our interest, you know, what they do to various products, which will make them either outlast a quick ripening or gain in the ripening so that they ripen at a particular time, and they do all kinds of stuff. I've seen some horrifying video about what happens to food before it lands on our shore, wherever you are, that happens in China to what they do. And I've always said that those great, huge, beautiful, shiny, polished red apples are that they are actually polished. We talked before about the McDonald's thing of how their fries will stay looking like fries that you could just stick in the microwave, and they'll stay that way for months. What's happening to those things to make them do that? And obviously when you're manufacturing something, your best bet for staying in business is to be able to actually market something which has a long shelf life. And now I saw in the Philippines, I saw that there is a store that's opened now, I think it was Manila, probably Manila, where foodstuffs that were past their shelf life. So every time you look at something, if the very least that you will probably look at on their labels is what the shelf life is. And if there you are on July the 22nd and the shelf life is June 4th, you probably aren't going to actually buy that. But what's going to happen is that that's going to be farmed out and somebody else will buy it. And depending on your financial status, if you can buy that at half the price that it was when it was the 22nd of July, then you're probably going to do it. So that's my little blurb on my interesting book, which I'm reading right now, called The Thyroid Book, and it is fascinating, and it does promise in the later parts of the book, which I have yet to get to, but which I will report on, it does promise a 4 to 6 week program that you can put yourself on, and you will get your thyroid up and running in good condition. Now, why I like that idea is because many times if you go on various diets, I read about the Atkins diet, which was formulated in a certain way that went against a lot of aforementioned beliefs, and you ate a lot of fat or something like that. I'm only just plucking this out of the air, but you ate more than your what had previously been fat. You ate more than your fair share. And then a little while ago I read that Atkins, the man who devised that, has died. Take from that what you will. But right now, the promise of a program which you can go on to, which will cut out what are known infamous things that you should buy. Most people who are on a health kick have given up sodas, and a lot of them exercise in order to be able to increase their metabolism and get it burning. Most people now know that muscle eats fat, but if you stop training, what will happen is, and you're still on some kind of diet, the body will think that it's on starvation, and what it will do is it will clamp down on the consumption of fat, because that's what it conserves energy in. So here you are, and you're in something of a quandary, aren't you? Any bodybuilder will tell you straight away that if you want to improve the shape of your body, because that's what they go by, as I've mentioned before, go on and look on YouTube and find out how those fitness girls look. And boy, they look tremendous. And they're muscular, and they don't have a high percentage of fat. Now, as soon as you start going into consuming your stored body energy, guess what you'll consume first? You'll consume lean muscle. That was my understanding. So all of these fitness girls will tell you, don't look at the weight, the weighing machine, right? Don't look at that. Look at how you look. Look at the tape measure. And even then, what may turn out to be a beautifully conditioned leg, which is so important for a woman, an extremely well-turned bicep, which would be good for a man, look at the tape measure instead of looking at your scales. Okay, so a few things there. It's such a big subject. How can you deal with it? But we at least did get sorted out what the thyroid itself does in preparation for some of the suggestions that John Ruby has, the author of this book that I'm reading. Hope you found this interesting. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and bye for now.